Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Art of the Feminine podcast. This is Shannon Port, and I welcome you to our live stream today. I'll just take a moment and see if anyone comes on. We are meeting today on February 18th. It's a Monday. I have actually never done a live stream on a Monday, so we'll see who can make it today. And we are going to talk about the Virgo full supermoon that's happening on the 19th of February. It's happening tomorrow. We're going to talk about the energies, not just for tomorrow at the moon, but the archetypal energy that's active all year. And so if you're catching this, oh, yay, it's good to see people. If you're catching this after the full moon takes place on the 19th, the archetypal wisdom that we share here is really about the transformation that's happening in every individual soul as well as the collective humanity at this time. And so it's great to have you. I also want to say thank you to everyone. I've met some really wonderful people and had a lot of you that show up. A lot of you that have been showing up for a while now. And I just want to say I really appreciate your sharing. I also appreciate everyone who likes the videos, shares the videos, and keeps them moving, because it really it really helps. But I also want to say thank you to the people who comment and who oftentimes expose really beautiful things on such a public platform. And it's really an honor to have that opportunity to talk with you in that way. And I'm hoping my phone doesn't ring again. I thought I had it turned off. So there we go. All right. So I have two quick announcements. I want to say, one, that I'm posting on Instagram for this channel. And so the Instagram link is Art of the Feminine. If you're on Instagram, if you would like to connect that way, please join me. I would love to have you. And the second announcement that I'll say a little bit about at the end that I'm really excited about is that I am March 2019, just a couple weeks away, I am presenting the signature program for the Art of the Feminine platform, and it's called Light Body Woman. It's a 3-month mentoring program, and it is loaded with all the metaphysical and esoteric wisdom that has been developed on this platform, this entire body of work. It's especially for women, even though I do work with women, men, couples, and everything in between. I have had some men interested in this. And so if you identify with a woman, this could also be for you. If you identify as a woman, this could also be for you. It's very, very special, and it's very, very well loved. And so I put a link in the description box. You can check it out. And I might say a little bit at the end, but there's a link to the write-up on my website in the description box. You can find out more. And so today's theme for our video is, and for some reason it's not showing that anyone's here, but I see comments. Hi, everyone. I hope you can hear me. I'm sure it looks like you can, or someone would probably say something. Oh, good to see you. It's not showing up that there's people on the live stream yet. So we're going to talk about positive mind power. And Virgo often is known as the critic, but it's a very, very positive energy that's happening at this moon. And we're going to talk about why Virgo is the critic and why that is so needed for us to have that critical mind right now, and how it can become our absolute best friend. I wanted to say, I'm going to read a little bit of writing. We're going to talk just a little bit about Virgo before we start. And then we'll go into the aspects. We'll go into everything happening at the full moon. Want to really concentrate on the trine. There's a trine with Mars, Uranus, and the full moon, which makes it extra it makes it really positive, and it makes it, and the moon and Mercury, the ruler of Virgo, are very connected to alchemy. And so this is a very alchemical portal that we are experiencing. The full moon is always a portal. We'll just take a moment and say a few words about that at the time of the full moon. And so I always recommend, if you are able to, meditate the hour before and be there right at the moment of the full moon. I believe it is I believe it's 7:53 a.m. Pacific time, 10:53 a.m. Eastern time. I believe that's the time. But what you want to do, so it's morning. It's going to be early for some of you, but if you get up, meditate before the full moon and be there and be really open in your presence at the time of the full moon, because that is the greatest download throughout the entire cycle. And that is the time when the veil is thin and when you can really, really receive information and guidance. It's also a portal into the underbelly. And so you want to make sure you're really bright and really present. There's always the chance that that stuff is going to come up. And that's why we see it in the collective. We see people going mad at the full moon, and that's because the underbelly is stirred, the veil is thin, and everyone's stuff comes up, and so it brings out the body of pain in the collective. I wanted to say, oh, good to see you. Oh, hi. I wanted to say, somebody was asking on the last video, and sometimes I don't get to answer all the questions in the chat about finding out about the daily, about the placement of planets every day. And absolutely, in no way was I not meaning to say that we shouldn't be aware of the transits that are happening in our own system. So all you have to do is Google that, and there are plenty of sites. There's a lot of really good sites that will come up so that you can see where the planets are at every day, where the theater in the sky is taking place, how they're dancing, how they're speaking to each other. And it's a nice practice to get into, to understanding how the elements are moving. And because when we're on the path of transformation, understand and we're using it in a positive way, it can give us comfort to understand what we have available to us. You want to be careful to not get too down when you see things that look like they could be hard, but the truth is that nothing is negative when you're on the path of transformation. Nothing. And that's what we're going to talk about today with Virgo. Nothing is, you can use everything. Everything you can. If you have a terrible day, if you have a terrible experience, if you have things taken away from you, or if you feel like you're being stripped down, you can use it. Everything is used for us to have a greater understanding of who we are and to purify the consciousness. That's Virgo. So we'll start out with this. Virgo is the virgin. It has both a feminine and a masculine energy, as a lot of the archetypes do. Virgo represents the virgin consciousness. It's not about the virgin body, although it can be, but it's about the sacredness of our soul consciousness. We have a consciousness, and that is our soul. That is our pristine, it's like the bride. It's the pristine platform or field. It's a field that can be penetrated or fertilized by the solar energy, the solar consciousness, and the two work together. And so at this full moon, we have the sun in Pisces. Pisces represents the 12th house and the underbelly, where all this power is. Pisces is really that the 12th house is really a house of great, great power. So Pisces, with the sun in Pisces, we actually have the solar power activated in the element of Pisces, and we have the moon, the purity of the soul, activated in Virgo. And Virgo represents this sign. Virgo is Virgo is like the gate that we have to pass through. She's the virgin, but she's going to discriminate. That's why Virgo is critical. Virgo is going to decide what stays and what goes and what enters her, because she's doing the alchemical work. The archetype for Virgo is the hermit. It's key 9. And Virgo mostly falls in the 9th month. 9 is the number of Mars. Mars is trining this full moon. So this is the law of correspondence that we work with on this channel. So Virgo uses the power of Mars, and we'll get into that a little bit further along. Virgo is the first set of discriminating energies we see in Gemini. Mercury rules Gemini, but that's a little bit more movement. That's a little bit more about this merging of the subconscious and the conscious mind. Mercury in Gemini is very, very active. By the time Mercury gets to Virgo, it's a grand discriminator. It's the one who's going to choose what stays and what goes. And it's also the one that's going to make order. It's going to give us the structure so that we can create our body of light. It's that we have to create the purified, transmuted alchemical consciousness to hold the higher levels in our being, of our inner being, in our outer form. So what else do I want to say before we dive into the transits? Virgo holds the power to transmute the entire underbelly of Pisces. And that's why they're on the same axis. And it's interesting that Virgo represents the Virgin and Pisces is the Christ energy. It's the solar energy that's buried within us. Virgo is the womb that births that Christic energy. And so we'll look at what's happening at this full moon today, and then we'll talk more about Virgo. I love this sign of Virgo. It's so when we're talking about purity, we're all pure. We are all virgins. It does have to do with our outer behavior, and yet it doesn't. It has to do with the pristine consciousness within us that is our very best friend and that we're cultivating. We have to have the discrimination of Virgo. Virgo holds the presence so that when the stuff is coming up, the pain body is coming up and the ego is active, Virgo can get that ego under control, and Virgo can hold presence like a parent for everything. In fact, I wrote something. I'm going to read it. This came when I was thinking about this. Okay. All emotions, feelings, and actions, impulses, and desires within us are worthy of our presence. So everything is worthy. We never have to feel like sinners, or we never have to feel bad. Everything is there for a reason. It's all there for a reason. It's just a matter of how we act, react, or respond to it that determines the karma or the path or the choices we make. When we're really in it, sometimes we can't decide. Sometimes we're not really deciding for ourselves. Sometimes the patterns are so great that our inner being is using that pattern and actually projecting it outward to make us face it. So we might think we always have free will, but sometimes we see in astrology, things are happening that we have to face. And so that's why to face them with love and courage and excitement, even, there's nothing bad. Everything is to be used to do this grand alchemy of Virgo. So all of them are worthy of our presence. Our presence is like our inner parent. It's like our inner parents. I'm not sure why that rings on here, and I'm sorry about that. So everything is worthy. All that you are is worthy. There's nobody that is to be to feel shame. Nobody at all. We're all in this together, and that's what the big message of this is. The pure love of our inner awareness and being is our presence, but not all will be harvested. This is the message of Virgo. Not all is going to be harvested. Remember, Virgo separates the wheat from the chaff. Those that belong will be digested to create the vehicle of our awakened consciousness. It's our ascension vehicle. Presence itself is the great transmuter. The letter for the archetype of the hermit is Yod. It's the Hebrew letter Yod, and it's the foundation of the entire fire alphabet of the Hebrew letters, which correspond to the Western esoteric system in the huge well of wisdom. So, and that's why I work with these letters. I know that's why I work with them. They're absolute beautiful beings that have energy, that have a stream of wisdom for us. So Yod, as in Yod He Vav He, it's the first letter in the sacred name. It can be found in every single letter because it's the presence, it's the fire and the flame of the entire thing, and it's the presence within us, and it is the archetype of Virgo. All right, so let's look at what's going on during the let's look at the transits, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about this. Okay, I'm just going to take a peek. Um, I love you guys too. I love this. All right. Okay. So let's look at what we have going on. We'll talk about the archetypes. We'll talk about how they're working. So we have this Trinity power in Capricorn. Capricorn has really been under the scrutiny and the karmic influences right now. And we talk a lot about Capricorn, but right now, we have beautiful energy of Venus right in between Saturn and Pluto. So it's like this trinity where Venus, who holds a lot of divine feminine energy, and she is really the transmitter onto our planet. Because Venus traces the pentagram in the sky and Venus represents the heart, Venus has, and the creative imagination and all of it. She's the one for this cycle. She is sandwiched in between Saturn, the truth, the fruit of all the karma of all of our actions and what we are building, the seeds that we've planted, and Pluto, regeneration, death, rebirth. So this is a grand alchemy. Venus is the empress, and she's between cosmic consciousness of Saturn and judgment of Pluto. Those are the last two archetypes in the 22 of the major arcana. And so they're all about the final steps, and Venus is right in between them, and they're forming a trinity. In fact, they are at 16 degrees is Saturn, 18 degrees is 18 degrees is Venus, and Pluto's at 22. So let me just talk about the archetypes of 18, 16, and 22. 16 is the tower, and it's Mars. So Saturn is at Mars. That's karma coming in. Venus is at 18. 18 is the moon. It's the archetype of Pisces. So Venus is emphasizing the work that's being done in transmuting the underbelly. And Pluto's at 22. 22 is a what do you call it? Master number. 22 is the number of the Hebrew letters, and it's the number of the archetypes, and it is Pluto, and it's the number of a finality. It's the number of things really coming in. And we can kind of feel that we're at that point right now. Things are happening in the outer, a lot's happening in the outer. But today our focus is really going to be about how we can hold our true power inside, our sovereignty. It doesn't matter what's happening on the outer when you connect to that. You will be in the right place at the right time to do the very spiritual work that you have come to do. We can't go wrong. So any fear about going wrong or losing this, or, I mean, the only way we could go wrong is if we turn our back on it altogether. And even then, we probably have enough good help coming from within us that a light will eventually go off. But we are here to just understand that all we have to do is show up with our presence, and life becomes very exciting. So we have Vesta in Pisces. So now we're jumping into Pisces to look at what's there. Venus, remember, is kind of corresponding to Pisces with that 18 degrees of Capricorn. Vesta's at 9 degrees, Neptune at 15 degrees, and Mercury at 16 degrees. So there's, those planets are all working together. Vesta, which is the alchemical high priestess, and the worker, and she's conjunct Neptune, and Mercury and Neptune are conjunct, and they are in a square, actually. Yeah, they're in a square still with Jupiter and Sagittarius. So there's action happening there in Pisces. Not only the sun is in Pisces at 0 degrees, but we have Vesta, Neptune, and Mercury. So we've got a lot of energy in this mutable sign, highlighting the work that's being done with Neptune. Neptune rules the 12th house. It rules the underbelly, and it rules spiritual awakening. It rules the possibilities of using creativity to access our spiritual power and to heal our word and to heal all our subconscious patterns, it's really important that we do that work. We access our inner presence, but there's work to be done. Once you access your inner presence, everything's going to come up. It's not that you access your present. There are people who enlighten and instantly are enlightened, but there is also such thing as partial enlightenment. And that means there are a lot of people that think they're enlightenment that haven't necessarily tended to some of the things that are down there. And so we see the cracks happen now and then. It's okay. It's what the journey is all about. It's what we're all going through. But we have to transmute, meaning we have to own it. We have to, in order to have that power, as Virgo's building this body, this sacred body, we have to see what's there. We have to separate the wheat from the chaff. We have to know how to use the negative power and turn it into fuel to do the work that we've come to do. So Pisces is lit up. 4 planets in Pisces: Vesta, Neptune, Mercury, and the Sun. The Sun is at 0. So remember, 0 is a very alchemical degree. It's a critical degree, and it represents really amplifying the energy of Pisces. Pisces new moon is coming up next. So in the next video, we're going to talk all about Pisces. Chiron. All right. So let's look at Aries. So now moving into Aries now, Chiron has just entered Aries and is at 0 degrees. Chiron at 0 degree Aries is really highlighting, like the sun and the moon, is highlighting the beginning, the initiation, the critical point and the alchemical point of the sign. And 0, remember, we talked about this in the last video, represents the Fool, and it represents cosmic conscious. It represents the quintessence light, the limitless light of all of creation and how it pours through into matter. So when we have these 0 degrees, we're also talking about consciousness, which is what Virgo is about. So we have Chiron is entering in Pisces now for about 8 years. We're going to have Chiron in Pisces, which could mean a lot. We've talked a lot about Chiron and the wounded warrior, because Pisces is, Aries. Chiron is in Aries. I apologize if I said that wrong. Chiron is at 0 degrees. Aries is now touching the sign of the warrior, the sign of Mars, and the sign of the Emperor. All of these archetypes are in the sign of I Am. We talked about this a lot in the last video we did about Aries. I Am. And we're going to talk about I Am because the presence of the Hermit and Yod and the archetype of Virgo is I Am. It's the pure, pristine being within. So here we have Chiron entering Aries for the next 8 years, which is going to bring purity and healing to the sign of I Am. It's going to land that Christ consciousness on the earth. The Christic force, we'll call it. It's the light. It's the solar consciousness and the solar light that is harmonizing with the lower consciousness that needs to be purified. This is what this full moon is, exactly what it's about. Uranus is at 29 degrees Aries. So Uranus is doing its last days in Aries. What this means is that as Uranus exits, it has its last touching. It's been there for about 7 years. We went into Taurus, went back into Aries. As Uranus exits, same with Chiron. Chiron went into Aries and went back into Pisces. They both did that dance in, out, and back in. Uranus will be leaving into Taurus. I believe it's March 6th, which is huge. And Chiron's taking over. Chiron's going to own the sign of Aries for the next 8 years. It's going to own it, and it's going to do the transformation of Aries and bring the solar consciousness onto the earth as Uranus rocks Taurus and moves, shakes up the earth with the Uranus energy, which we know is the Fool. We talked about that a lot in the last energy. This is a beautiful that they're both in there for their final days together in the same sign. Uranus and Chiron in Aries. Chiron, the wounded healer, but the power to heal. The power to heal. It's the sovereignty and the empowerment of your healing journey. It's saying right now, each individual is going to heal. It's going to happen. The last time Chiron was in Aries was during the 60s, and we saw a huge, huge, huge movement on planet Earth. We're getting close for another round of that. All right, Mars in Taurus at 3 degrees, trining the full moon. This is big. Mars will be trining the full moon, and Uranus is trining the full moon. I think this is the most special energy of this full moon that I want to focus on, the trine with Mars, Uranus, and the full moon. Mars is the tower, it's the Holy Spirit, and it's the Shakti-force. And I think I put one of the tags as Shakti power. It's amplifying the full moon, which is a portal in Virgo. It's giving it that Shakti power. It's giving it that Mars light, and that in a harmonious way. It's going to be helpful and assisting because it's a trine. And Uranus is saying, I'm on board too. I'm getting ready to enter Taurus, but I'm going to amplify this full moon. The message of the full moon is to know your presence, because you will never, ever, ever go wrong once you make best friends with your own inner presence. It's the only thing you're required to do. That presence will hold space for everything else to happen. Now, if you get arrogant and you say, I've got my presence, I don't need anything else, you're probably jumping the gun a little bit too soon. The presence, what the presence is going to do is going to bring situations into your life. It's your higher self, your inner being, bringing more things to you so that you can gain the wisdom to have true power in the world. Remember, we talked about the trinity of wisdom, power, and love. We need all three for divine love. This energy is all about activating that trinity. And there's a lot of trinities here. I consider that a trinity: Mars, Uranus, and the full moon. And then the one in Capricorn. There's a lot of threes. And Mars is at 3 degrees of Taurus. So that's a nice focus. The North node in Cancer at 26 degrees. 26 is a very auspicious number. It's the number of Yod He Vav He, and it reduces to 8, which is Saturn. It's another strong placement of the North node. The North node is representing that mother energy, the moon, and the moon is part of the great power. It represents the pure consciousness. The virgin consciousness is the moon that's represented by Virgo. So there's a huge correspondence between the North node in Cancer right now and the full moon of this Virgo full super moon. It's the closest moon of the year. It's going to be the brightest moon of the year. So it's going to be bright and beautiful. It's going to look like that virgin bride. And I love that archetype. Because it's what we all are. We are all born again virgins with Virgo. We are, and we have to love it, and we have to dig into that and find out what that means. All right. So Jupiter in Sagittarius at 20, we mentioned that. Jupiter's been there for a while. It's inching its way to the galactic center, where all of this, the grand finale happens, and the shower of all of this light, of the fool's light, comes from the galactic center. So the big news is the trine. Full moons are portals. We talked about that. Meditate, sit with that, and ask to be revealed your presence. So there's something big I want to say about I am. Yes, this full moon is loaded with positive mind power. The moon rules the mind. The moon and Mercury are the pineal gland and the pituitary gland in alchemy. And so this is really alchemical, and it's readiness. This full moon feels really ready for a bigger awakening in the collective. So many people are waking up, and now we're just learning how to harmonize with each other. We have to learn how to love each other. This is part of the message. When you know yourself, when you know your own presence, you will have no bones to pick with anyone, really. You will have no competition. You will have no threat. You will have no anxiety about other people. The person may send you some of those messages and red flags that you have to look at, but when you know you have your presence, you're holding it. You can hold all of it. You're giving it to your inner God self can take care of it. There's nothing. That inner presence is the creator of everything. It is the creator of all, both the light and the dark. And so that's why Virgo is opposite Pisces. Pisces represents the deepest of the dark that we carry. It has also a very spiritual archetypal energy in it, highly. It's the most spiritual, but the underbelly of it is the most dark and evil, what we would call evil. And so our inner being and our presence created all of it. It's like when you're a parent to a child, it doesn't matter what the child does. You're the parent, you know it. You can't, there's times when it gives you a run for your money and you have to you have to hold that space. And sometimes the human part of you has to compromise and be flexible and learn and grow from your own child. But all of creation is the child of this divine being, and it's not afraid of anything, nothing. We've all suffered. We've all been suffered the worst of the worst on this earth. We've all been there. And we are all in a way suffering now. There's a lot of collective projection of pain because there's a lot of hard things we're moving through. And it's always been known we would move through these things at this time. We have to just own it and step into it and not be afraid of it. Create, 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 love, 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 connect to wisdom, and just take it one step at a time. And we're all going to be okay in this. So here is, I did a quick reading, writing that I want to read. That this is kind of the message of the, this is the message that I want to leave you with. And then I'll take a peek at the chat. This came in last night. It just came through a flow. And I also want to tell you about meditation with I Am, because it's huge. I'll say that at the end of this. This is what came in after deep meditation last night. Appreciate your life. Times can be hard. We are all healing and trying to figure it out. All of us. Be kind. Appreciate those who are the actors in your personal play, in your life, and your life drama. We're all living out our own drama. And the people who show up are players and actors in our life. Appreciate them. They're not there by mistake. Nothing happens by mistake. We know that when we connect to our presence. Nothing. Nothing is a mistake. Appreciate the actors. Even if they played a hard role, thank them. And in the end, you will thank everyone. In the end, we thank everyone, even our worst tormentors, our worst persecutors. We forgive them and thank them because we understand what this was all about. We are playing the part for each other to awaken. All of us, we're there for each other. Every time you interact with someone, you're in their play. The part for each other to awaken, and it's to awaken. Please forgive those. Release and forgive those who have hurt you at the appropriate time, after you have done the work and the healing. So it's important to know forgiveness is an absolute. It's a non-negotiable. We have to forgive on our path to healing, but we have to do it at the appropriate time. We have to have digested some of this Virgo criticism stuff. We have to be the critic at first and say, wait a minute, what am I going to take from this? And what am I going to just let go? And then I'm going to forgive it and love it all eternally. Sometimes it can help us to forgive a little sooner than that, just to sort of soften the energy. If the energy is really tight, and it's got a strong grip on your ego and your body of pain, doing a meditation for forgiveness can loosen that. It can just break things up a little so you can go deeper and then save the grand finale for later. Don't put off loving those who are close to you. So important. Those people in your life, love them. Let them know you love them. Your partner, your friends, your parents, your family. I recently saw an interview with Stevie Nicks, and she was saying she was very, very close with her mother. Their entire life, she said her mother was it for her, the one person who could give her everything in all times of good and bad. And she had lost her mother, and she was saying, and I really felt this message, appreciate your mother. If she's still alive, if she's still with you, appreciate her. And if she's passed, and if there was a life situation where you didn't get to know your mother, appreciate that too, for what the strength that's developed in you. All of this is leading to one place: depth. Depth means we're awakening. A lot of people who appear to have everything so easy, they're manifesting everything, everything's so great. But you can sense when you have depth, and when you begin to cultivate depth, you can feel in the presence of others who have depth. It's a look in the eye. It's a feel of the heart. When someone's been through, and that's why as we get older, we have more and more depth. We get more wisdom because we've been through things, and we have digested and separated and built, assimilated. Assimilation is huge into our consciousness, the wisdom. Remember, we need wisdom, power, and love. Not just love, not just power, not just wisdom, all three. But the mother energy. And if your own mother is gone, know your inner mother. But I really, the message of her having had her mother pass, to say, don't wait until tomorrow. Know your mother today, because there's also a great energy that you can receive through that relationship, and it can happen in the ether just as well. Um, and don't hesitate to reach out to that stranger on the street or in the grocery store with a smile or a kind word or a sincere word. I'm going to do a video about this, but it's like the sickness that we have in humanity is that we are all afraid of each other. We are so afraid of each other. I mean, we love each other, but it's conditional. There's so much conditional love. You know, I'll love you if you're perfect. I'll love you if you meet my list, the shadow of Virgo. If you meet this, and this, I'll love you. If not, forget about it. Well, love always has another plan. We can never, it's good to know what you want, but when it shows up, you're going to get the opposite inevitably, especially if it came from duality, because the person who you love in an intimate way is always going to show you your shadow on some level. And so that's why we fall in love. We think everything's perfect. And then, whoa, we finally get hit with the truth that there's more to the story than we saw initially. And we think, not again. This one didn't make the cut either. Not again. But oftentimes, there's more work that could be done. And I know I do a lot of couples mentoring, and you see it when I have watched couples go through things that most couples would say that's it. And I want to say that the love is so strong and so purified when you go through something with someone in a divine way, when it's meant to be. The love that comes out, the alchemized love on the other side of that, is just potent. It can withstand anything. But yeah, don't hesitate to love strangers either. I know what I was saying, that we're afraid of each other, and we don't have to be afraid of each other. When you're in your presence, you don't have to be afraid of anybody. You might get a sense that you're meant to have a boundary, or you're meant to back off, or you're meant to just let something go, and that's okay. And your presence will let you know if you're meant to bring that back, or if it's or what's next. Your presence always knows, and so that's why it's so powerful. All right, but be kind to strangers too. You will receive they say when you're kind to a stranger, the angels just pour blessings on you. And I know, I feel it. Become that person who, you're not doing it for validation. You're not doing it to be, so your ego can say, oh, I'm such a good person. I stopped. I give money to the poor. I talk to strangers. I make everyone's day. That's the beginning stage. But when it's in a non-egoic way, you're doing it just because your heart's tuned into that level. You're not going to post it on Instagram. You're not going to tell the world that you did it. No one's logging it. No one's putting it in their book of, oh, this is what you did. You're a really good person. You're just doing it because the spring of soul consciousness is flowing from you, and it's a spring that gives. It's ever giving, so that it's ever receiving. It's ever giving, ever receiving. It's your power. It's your energy in life. If you're dealing with energy issues, having that deep understanding can be a real great help. Although a lot of us are dealing with energy issues right now, because there's a lot of dark attack on the planet. That our technology is a distraction from the purity of consciousness that Virgo wants, and we'll talk more about that. Use your mind to connect with your inner God presence, or your inner self presence, or your inner goddess, your inner virgin of light. Your unlimited positive mind power, which will ignite that fire letter Yod, and it will give you the wisdom of the entire archetypal language. When you are in presence, you are a living, breathing, speaking, walking, moving, creating embodiment of the one, and we are all the one. I mean, it's so crazy when you see how polarized we get and what's happening in the world, and you're getting closer and closer to understanding that we're one. It's so crazy to think that everyone's trapped and locked out of their own power. They're just simply locked out. We've locked ourselves out is the thing. Now, there are influences on the planet that would rather not see that virgin consciousness be birthed and blossom in everyone, that would rather not see heart centers open, third eyes open, power, solar sacrum open, that would rather just see the bondage. And so we are fighting against that. This, make no mistake, there is a war in consciousness, but it's a game that we set up. Part of it we set up, and there's all different archetypal reasons and mythology for why, but that doesn't really matter. You can subscribe to any of those, but the only thing that is universal is the one within us. When you connect to the one, you'll speak the universal language. All right, your inner God, you will experience unlimited positive mind power. It's here to serve you and the entire kingdom. So we'll talk a little bit more about Virgo. I'm going to take a quick peek at the chat and see if there's any questions. All right. Oh no. Oh, here it goes. Okay. It sometimes stalls for a minute. Okay, there are infinite number of ways to express. One hidden. Oh, I love that. Avalon. Yes, I love that. And I love Avalon art. We should talk about Avalon one day. Yes, an archetypal Avalon and the inner Avalon. Um, Love can withstand anything. Yeah, divine love. Remember, divine love has power. We talk our human emotional love in our heart center even has a lower chamber that can be really out of whack. The emotional body can be berserk. And we experience that. The emotional body can lash out and be aggressive and angry and mean. When we talk about the darker side of the feminine, we talk about jealousy, rage, vengeance, wanting to retaliate and get back. And some of that energy is used in regeneration with Pluto and with Lily, but divine love is invincible. It's invincible. And that's the Trinity power that we talked about. That's the awakened power, awakened heart, and awakened wisdom. The higher heart is pure. It's the bride, and it's the bridal chamber. It's where the inner alchemy happens. Just taking a little peek at this. So I don't see any questions. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and put a few letters in caps so I can tell that it's a question. Oh my God, there are a lot of trinities. My cup runneth over. Oh, nice. Okay. Chiron is 0 degrees. Yes, Aries. You must have caught me. I think I said the wrong sign. Yes, Aries. All right. So let's see if there's anything else, any last messages I want to say. Oh, I know. This is what I was going to tell you. Okay. So, this is what I want to share with you about I am. I am, I am, I am. And I'll share with you a mantra too. A mantra I've been using at Art of the Feminine for many, many years now. I say I am in the 7 directions. It's a nice way to just remember to invoke I am. I am before me. I am behind me. I am at my left. I am at my right. I am above me. I am below me. I am unto me. And it just awakens your field. It's just a conscious use of your word. So the 7 directions are used in all of the esoteric wisdom, is that it's north, south, east, west, above, below, and within. It's space. It's activating. It's lighting up your space with the presence of I am. I wanted to say this. Okay, and then I want to talk about a practical meditation because I want to give something practical. So, so much has been coming in right now. I'm really looking forward to the mentoring. And this is a time of great shift, and a lot of new energy is available for all of us to have this shift. It's really, really potent. When you meditate, when you go, and I've talked about meditating with mantra and music, and I've been doing that for 20 years, but silence is equally as powerful. I use the music when I want to vibrate at a certain level, when I want to or a particular mantra when I want to create that vibration. In different mantras are good for different things, but the to connect with pure presence in the most pure way. And sometimes for that I'll have a little background music, but nothing that you want to actually set emotion aside for this kind of meditation. You're accessing the pure emotions of the higher self. There's 2 trinities. There's a lower trinity and a higher trinity, which is like the chalice. And so it's like that, and they form the Star of David and our presence, which is what that I am meditation is. It's the activation of that field. It's the Merkabic field of consciousness. So we're just setting the structure. Virgo loves structure. It loves organization. That's what Virgo's doing. It's setting a structure. So when you go in, when you meet your presence, and you'll get used to it, this can happen in 11 minutes. Take a few minutes every morning to step inside the chamber and leave everything else out. You're going to step inside your heart chamber. You're going to just see the flame of your own inner, you can call it your inner hermit or your inner higher self. And you're going to receive that invitation to step in and be present. You're going to leave everything else behind. You need nothing. In fact, this is a new realization that I've had recently, and it's very new, but that it was one that helped me to take an even deeper step. I've been working with presence and awareness my entire life at different degrees, but staying very present with the divine feminine work of the outer world. So not been able to retreat all the way from that, and really happy to do so. Really happy to actually get to be in the world and doing the work of the divine feminine, the work of relationships, the work of clearing wounds, and the work of shifting the planet and interacting with people, and all the things that are human life. That's part of our work here. But this recently, I had a moment of knowing not to even focus on the breath, to even let that go. Because I work a lot with the breath, and the breath is huge, but there's a moment in meditation where you actually stop breathing and you let your presence breathe you. This is because you're merging, you are the presence, but you're merging into it, and you let go. And with that, even surrendering your own breath, you're letting God breathe through you. It's profound. I'm giving it today because I just feel like you might not be ready for that yet, but it's really big. When that happens, and everything else is gone, though, you have to know that you've also shed everything. You've let go of anything, any pain, any wounds, any stuff that you need to work out. We're a little past the Virgo point right now, because we're not just, well, the presence itself becomes the great discriminator. And so it's beyond mind. It's not the egoic mind or even the intellectual mind. It's the greater mind. It's the virgin consciousness. You will hear the voice of your own presence. It will speak. It will absolutely speak. And it will say, I am. It will say, I am. Who knows? If you don't speak English, it may say it in your language. But I heard I am, and it wasn't any part of my faculties that I had control over speaking. But this was the message I was meant to give today. This is very recent, that we don't realize that we have this inner power. We really have it. Each one of us has it. You don't have to spend money. You don't have to go any place special, even though those things help. Like I offer programs because it helps. It's assistance and support, but you don't need anything. All you need to contact this presence is enough structure to give yourself over to it every single day. And when you do that, you will understand that the power is within you. Our positive mind power is within us. And you will lose all need to have fear of other people. In fact, it's going to spread. What happens is when you embody that, and once you taste it, you can never go back. Once you walk through a door, it closes. And that's why sometimes there's an adjustment period. You have the experience, and I can vouch for this. And then you do some upgrades, you do some work. But this is getting really close to the sweetness of the actual truth. I wanted to share that with you. I hope it was helpful. It's profound. It's just profound. and it's uttered from within. And it's who you are. It's who you really are. Okay, I'm going to take one quick peek before I close out. Does anyone have anything else to say? Good morning. And yes, it's sacred union. We did the yes, that's what it is. It's sacred union. I did the sacred union meditation that I use at Light Body Yoga. I did that a couple of videos ago, or maybe it was the last video. Thank you so much. It's nice to see all of you. All right, I think I'm going to close out. I just want to say happy, happy full super moon in Virgo. Fit it into your schedule. Fit that meditation into your schedule. I don't think that you will be sorry that you did. And I hope to see you guys again. Subscribe to the channel. We're doing live streams every week, every other week, eventually every week. But subscribe. I'd love to have you. And that's it. Wishing everyone just tremendous amount of beauty, love, and divine grace for this time on earth.